I wanted to talk about grounding. And I know you're going to tell me that the machine does so much more than just grounding. But
Mhm.
in a world where we've got air pollution, we've got water contamination, we've got processed foods that makes up 70% of the American diet. We've got heavy metals, EMFs, and radiation. In fact, I'm going on a plane right after this, and I know that I'm expecting some inflammation in my body without a calorie, because that's what radiation and travel does to you. But there's something about this amazing machine that just brings everything back. And so I want to talk about grounding in general. What does it mean to be grounded? And people really don't understand what it means. It kind of means like, hey, come back to earth, but in a literal way. But can we start out by talking about what is grounding?
Sure. I think that's a great question, and I think some people may misconstrued what the word grounding is. In my opinion, I think that it's more that you become an antenna in the air. So really, the idea is we're surrounded by all this electrical energy, specifically from lightning discharge. We have those 8 million lightning strikes on the planet every day. That's 100 every second. That's maintaining this electric charge in the atmosphere. So as the further away you get from the earth ground, you actually measure a higher potential, up to 1 million volts. So like when Ben Franklin threw his kite up in the air, even on a clear day, he could measure a difference of potential almost of 1 million volts. So what I believe is actually happening is when you make the connection to the earth, now you become more of the antenna that you actually start collecting some of those electrons that are being discharged from the lightning that goes through you into ground. So it is somewhat being as grounded, but I think that the important part is actually being that insulation, so your connection, so you can actually be higher up the ground to actually collect those electrons.
I don't think people realize that we're electrical. So maybe talk about that a little bit. And, I had no idea until I had heard you talk about the fact that we have so many lightning strikes in a day or in a year. You just hear about the big storms and seeing those, but you don't hear about the ones that are constantly coming.
Sure. I mean, part of our belief is, I like to look at first from a macrocosm where we're looking at the universe itself. So, not only is the Earth producing 100 lightning strikes every second, 8 million every day, but every other planet's doing the same thing. The sun, what we call solar flares or solar storms, are nothing but atmospheric discharges that contributes to what we call cosmic rays. So when we go outside, it isn't about it's because we're getting away from work and things like that, or we're getting away from our thoughts, but it's really reconnecting to that universal energy that's actually coming at us. It's coming at us from those lightning discharges maintaining the electric field to the each unique hundreds of thousands of radio frequencies and harmonics that each one of those strikes produces, that all have an impact on a microcosm all the way down to the cellular level. So, here we are, we're outside, we're exposed to all this natural energy, but what happens is um, what's it actually doing on a cellular level? When you think about it, our bodies are really electric. Our brain, our heart, our nervous system, cell function specifically. So, when you think about how our bodies operate, you have your brain that sends this, has neurotransmitters, neurons that trigger a signal that goes all the way down to, say if it's the trigger hormones going to different glands to tell it to secrete the hormone, and then delivering that all the way down to the on a cellular level. And those are all electrical impulses that drive that whole function, all the way from your brain pulsing to then triggering the neurons. So each one of those going all the way down to the on a cellular level. Now it's dealing with how we uptake nutrients and detoxify. So, in healthy cellular function, you have these negative and positive charges surrounding the cell membrane, and when it's sufficient enough, it triggers ion channels. It could be the sodium potassium pump, which is ATP or your cell's battery. It could be the uptake of hormones, proteins, nutrients. And then there's a detoxification effect. So as we age, this resting membrane potential drops. Its ability to trigger these healthy cellular functions diminish. But when we go outside, we are exposed to some of this natural energy to help charge your cells back up, or at least maintain that charge that helps us continue to have this healthy cellular function. So
I
what the biocharger does is, in the absence of all that, we can take all of what nature is providing and bring it indoors.
I love that you're talking about cellular energy. If you have listened to me before, I'm all about ATP. It's all about the mitochondrial diet, whatever it is, because our health, our longevity is not about a paleo diet or a carnivore diet. It's about the health of your cells. And if your cells can't get the nutrients in or the toxins out, we will die, right? So this brings up and it's a beloved person that we both know. Her daughter was in the hospital for 3 weeks suffering from ulcerative colitis, parasites, other things. Anyway, week 3, she says to the nurses, can we take her outside? She never went outside for 3 weeks. Can you imagine how crazy you would go being healthy in a healthy body for just 1 day without seeing the outside atmosphere in the sun or anything like that? And that's part of the healing. Now, would she have loved to have had her biocharger in the hospital room? Yeah, that probably wasn't practical, but at the same time, that would be amazing.